Alrighty. Hello and welcome everyone to episode 15 of Talking to Unicorns. It's been a while. I have been traveling, but we're back. And today I am talking to Nick, who is a brand designer from Auckland. Nick, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So can you just give us like a little bit of an introduction to who you are, what your background is, and the kind of stuff that you do?
Yeah, so I've been working as a designer for about 7 or so years now. I started out as a junior at a recruitment, advertising, marketing type agency. I took a little gap after university, so I didn't work straight away. I think I needed to kind of like de-stress myself from everything that I went through for those 3 years. Yeah. And from that, I stayed at that agency for a few years before I went into a more in-house kind of role. I kind of worked with a group of companies. So it was, while I was in-house, I was working with a lot of different marketing teams, and it was through construction, hotels, bars, restaurants, property. So that was quite varied. And then from there, I've kind of gone back to agency where I'm kind of working over print, packaging, doing a lot of digital brand development, branding, and really kind of everything when it comes to design. So I've been there since the start of this year now. And then since March, I've been freelancing as well because COVID happened and now we're allowed to freelance again.
Oh yeah. So with COVID happening, was it kind of like hours have been reduced and therefore go and look for some extra work, or was it kind of like more demand for work?
Yeah, in a way, it's. I think so. Usually, with a lot of agencies, they don't like you to freelance on the side because they don't want you to either take potential clients or work directly with competitors. Especially with some of the clients we work with, you don't want to be then working with a direct competitor, knowing all of their kind of industry kind of secrets and what we're doing with them. So yeah, in March they let us freelance again. And the only kind of requirement was that we told them who we were working with, just so that we weren't stepping over any lines there. And I guess no one really prepared us for COVID, right? So I think, working in branding, it's been really interesting to see how companies have or haven't been able to adapt. And, I think it's times like these where good branding and having a real strong brand strategy is helping push some of these businesses forward. In times like these where there is you need to trust who you're working with, and having a good reputation and a good feeling towards a product or a service is really important right now. So yeah, it's been fun, but it's been a pretty wild year for everyone, it seems.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, where do I even start? There's so many interesting things. I might just start with, like the kind of work that you're doing in-house at the moment and how that compares to the work that you do as a freelancer. Like, obviously working as a brand strategist in an agency, you'll deal with a different kind of caliber of clients. So what are the main differences?
So I think right now with who I'm working with in the agency, I'm doing a lot of retail, and basically we do a lot of point of sales, we do digital, we do, some of our clients, we pretty much cover everything designed for them. So I'm working over across of a whole lot of that, as well as some brand development within those retail jobs. The type of freelance work I do, I mainly work with a lot of startups and companies that want to rebrand. I find that it's an easy way to, when someone doesn't really know what they want or how they want it, or they're the very beginning of their business, it's really easy to help kind of guide them towards what they might need. And I think that's why I tend to work with a lot of companies like that, because it kind of helps me as well, where, the way I see it when I work with a client is I see it more as a partnership in a way. And you're working with them to find out what problems they have and how you can solve those. Whereas again, like an agency, as a designer there, we have account managers, we have, a brand strategist, you've got a lot of different roles all helping to get a solution. And I think when you're freelancing, you have a bit more control over that, because it's all on you, right? Like, I have to set my own deadlines. I'm having to manage my workload and set the expectations with the client and what they're going to get.
Mm-hmm. That is really interesting because it makes sense. I mean, if you are in an agency, I suppose your sole focus will be on developing the branding. Do you have any client interaction at all in the agency? Or
yeah, I do. It's so some of our bigger clients, they have account managers directly contacting them and briefing them in with a lot of the work, whereas a lot of the smaller clients where it's more one or two jobs every, say, month, they might come directly to me just because it's an easier way. Or if there's something very specific, say like an example was some packaging that I was doing recently where she had the dye line that she wanted it changed in a specific way, and to brief the account manager was too hard to kind of to manage it, whereas I could have talked through it on the phone with her and been able to kind of make it work. So it really depends like every client's different, but the bigger clients definitely have their own account managers, and there's usually quite a few hands kind of going through that process.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. One of the big reasons why I wanted to jump on a call with you is because I think there's like a misconception sometimes that if you freelance, you have to do it full time. But we actually have a lot of people on the Unicorn Factory that, like you, just do it on the side while doing a full-time job. So I was wondering if you could tell me a bit about what it's like having a full-time job and then taking on projects on the side, like how you deal with the time management, how it kind of, how you make it work with like different client demands at different times, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, so I think the time management is definitely a big one. You have to be realistic with what you can do in what kind of time frame. I think, if I were to tell a client I'm going to be giving them something or delivering something by Friday, or jump on a call on Friday, but then something at work happens and I've got to stay late and I can't do that, well, it's on me to kind of make those deadlines work, right? So I need to be able to set realistic expectations and know my limits on what I can actually achieve. I think, like recently I did a big rebrand, which was a freelance job, and I set the kind of expectations that I thought I could hit, and which I did, and basically I made it clear what they would be getting and when, and I also I make it kind of I do, because I work a lot after work as well, and that's where a lot of the work's coming in, right? I can't work while I'm working, and the weekends. So a lot of the time, if you're very honest and clear with who you're working with first, that I am working full time and this is something that I do on the side. Sometimes they do want to go jump on a call on like a Saturday or a Sunday or 8 o'clock on like a Thursday night. So I think if you're honest about what you can do and what you're able to achieve, then a lot of the time they don't actually mind. Like they appreciate that, and it's better to do that than to not say anything at all and not be able to get something to them in time, or have to push it back, because then your reputation's on the line, right? So you need to set those expectations pretty early.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Like setting those expectations is really key. Do you feel like often the fact that you do have a full-time job is a bit of a deal breaker for like potential clients that you're working with?
100%. So I think a lot of the time, well, not all the time, but a lot of the time, clients want someone that they can work with that's ongoing, and someone that they can rely on to talk to, or ring up at any point of the day, really. So if it's a client that wants ongoing work, say every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks or something, then that's something I can't probably promise. And again, I make it clear with that. And I think that's why I do a lot of one-off jobs. And that's why I work with a lot of smaller companies and ones that are kind of just more one-on-one with me and a client. Yeah, I think that's probably the hardest thing. It's I've got a few clients that I do have ongoing work with, but it's say every 2 to 3 months, and the jobs are usually small enough that I can manage that. Anything bigger, yeah, you've got to know your limits, right? You don't want to promise something that you can't do, and yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. Just knowing your limits, know what you can do.
So do you have, like, when you're having an initial discussion with a client, do you have like a checklist or like a mental checklist that you're going through to kind of identify if that particular client is going to work for you or not going to work for you? And what are those kind of requirements?
Yeah, usually, like, I don't have like I guess usually I'll jump on a phone call with them and just basically talk through the project and what's needed and what their expectations are, and seeing if they align with my expectations. That's the easiest way to kind of do it. It's like a 10-minute phone call doesn't hurt time wise. It's easy to do, and you can kind of see where their line of thinking is and if it's in the same line as what you're thinking. At the same time, because my time is limited, you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do a little bit easier as well. It's not like I'm doing it solely for the income. It's more so I can learn and grow as a designer and be able to kind of push myself to do things that might be out of my comfort zone other than work. Because, like, I don't manage the accounts at my day job. So it's really good to be able to manage them on the side and learn a lot of those soft skills that, I think it's important to have.
So, I mean, I find that so awesome. I mean, like, what a great way to do it, because you are working in-house and you're honing your actual skills in your craft, but then through the freelancing, you're learning the business side of things. Have you like picked up a lot of things or learned a lot of things just from working in-house?
Yeah, so my job before this one, which was more in-house, I basically, because I was one of the only designers there, I had the opportunity to kind of take hold of most of the projects that were going on. I was really driving them, and a lot of that I've kind of translated to my freelance work as well. I think the best thing to do at this time in my career is to kind of prepare myself for later in my career by really, investing in myself. Like the technical skills, they're easy to kind of pick up on, and at this point, I think I don't need to like learn any more software. I don't need to I have kind of most of that relatively well checked. It's more the other skills that I need to kind of grow and develop now. And I don't know anything about business. So, how else do you learn about business? By, just getting in and start doing it, right? Like the only way you learn how to do something is by doing it. So that's kind of, I'm trying to put myself into positions where I can just learn as I go. And, I'm hoping that it all kind of comes together and sets me up later down the road.
Yeah. So what are kind of like the key things that you have learned just like through freelancing that you kind of didn't expect to learn or you didn't experience working in the agency?
The managing the client expectations is probably the hardest thing. I don't have to send invoices when I'm working in an agency. So, like there's always a bit of, I don't know why, there's always a bit of guilt, I guess. Like you always feel a bit awkward having to be like, okay, now that we're all done, So it's more the kind of admin side of it that's been a bit of a challenge. Or, I have like a contract that I get the client to sign before we start, just to outline the expectations, deliverable dates, and it kind of keeps me responsible as well. And I think doing that, it's also hard to kind of manage. Like say if I were to do something and I put three revisions max or something, and then they go over that. It's always hard to be like, you're going over the revisions now, so you're kind of like it's really, there's kind of like there's a little bit of a game that you have to play, but at the same time, because I'm kind of usually trying to work on one client at a time, I like to make every client feel unique and make it a unique experience. And, like I said earlier, I try to make it more like a partnership where we're working together. It's not, you're just paying me for a service. It's, we're working together to find the best solution for what you need. And I'm with you in that kind of doing this. So that's the way I try to look at it. And, I try to grow a relationship there, because you never know what's going to happen in the future, right? They might refer you, they might have further work that they want to work with you for. So you've always got to kind of keep them happy and really work with that relationship.
That's awesome. That's probably going to be our little snippet on Instagram.
Okay. I remember what I said, but yeah.
Okay, so the next thing that would be quite interesting to hear is, as someone who works full time, how do you find people to work with? Because, I mean, you don't, unlike other freelancers, there's like, you don't need to find clients. There's like no pressure for you to find clients because you've got your income coming from elsewhere. So what do you do? And what are the different types of things that you've done, and what works best for you usually?
Okay. A lot of work comes from referrals from past people I've worked with. So past companies that I've worked with, even through like my day job from years ago, they've referred me on to people. So that's, and co-workers. So that's been one big one. Second big one would be the Unicorn Factory, of course.
That's why I asked the question.
And I think networking, like I never used to really go on LinkedIn, but I'm a bit more active on LinkedIn these days. And I have like a design Instagram account that I try to engage with a lot of New Zealand based designers a lot. I'm trying to get more kind of involved within the community. So I'm just doing that through Instagram. But at the moment, those probably are the main kind of three things. I think you've got to put yourself out there, right? Like no one knows you're available for work if they don't know you're available for work. You've got to tell people that you are there. So, like there's a lot of different channels that you can use these days. So you just kind of throw the net everywhere you can and hopefully you catch something.
Man, that's fantastic. Okay. I have a few more questions. I think I want to start off with what you think your plans are for the future. Do you think you're going to continue with the agency life, or do you see yourself moving into freelance or even starting your own studio / agency at some point?
Yeah, that's a hard one to like. It's a hard
say
one
publicly.
Yeah, no, I haven't really planned that far down, but at the same time, I don't want to be at the point where I haven't put in all the work that I need to kind of make anything happen. So right now it's basically trying to invest in myself, grow and learn new things, and hopefully down the road that all comes together and helps me with whatever I want to do. It is a hard one to say, because I tend to get bored a lot with the type of work that I do, in terms of I love working over a lot of different platforms, and from print to digital to packaging. Branding is my kind of number one, but other than that, I do like to have the little things on the side as well. So who knows? I feel like every year my mindset has changed, as a designer anyway. I feel like in 2 years' time, I might be just brand strategy. It's really hard to say, but I think right now with my freelance, I mainly focus on branding and visual identity design, but I'm starting this year, especially, I've started getting more invested in brand strategy. So it could be something that I promote a bit more, but, I think I need to figure out in terms of my freelance kind of how I want to brand myself. And I think that's probably the first step I need to take, and then go from there.
That's so awesome. By the way, I remember what kind of prompted me to get in touch with you to have a chat about, like, on here. And that was, you got an inquiry on the Unicorn Factory and you accidentally replied to me because the system I set up is super unintuitive. But one thing but I think you had such an awesome professional response that made me so happy. Yeah, you didn't accidentally send it to me, but it was like, oh my God, I wish everyone would send replies like that. And the one thing that you had in there that was like awesome was your your guide, your brand guide with all the logos and how you and all that kind of stuff. Like, what kind of, like, when you send that out to people, like, so can you like explain to someone watching that why you include that in your email, or why sending something like that may be important?
I think that wasn't the first time that I've accidentally replied to you as well. I think I've done that a few times. I need to get better at that. That's probably the next skill I need to develop.
So that's, everyone does that, honestly. But that was actually a recent job that I had done, and the main reason I attached that was that I think it just sets the expectations of the different levels that's involved in developing a brand. Because I think when it comes to a brand, it isn't, I can't remember where I heard this, but it isn't what you say it is, it's what they say it is, right? It's a brand is your reputation, and it isn't just the logo, it isn't just a letterhead, it's, those are just tools. It's basically the feeling that people get when they see your company or someone working for that company. So I think there are a lot of different aspects to it, and in that brand guidelines, I think it just highlighted the different parts that might be involved visually, and the different in terms of what the brand is about and the feeling that it's supposed to give people. So so I think that's kind of just, and it was a recent job, right? So it was something I just decided to include, just to kind of set those expectations beforehand. Like, one thing that it made me think when I saw it is, like, we have a lot of brand designers and brand strategists on the Unicorn Factory. And like, when you sent that, I wasn't even looking for a brand designer. Like, you sent it to me accidentally, and I saw it and I was like, wow, this is like so legit. And then when we had and I was just like, man, that's such a good strategy for like people who are getting into freelancing to kind of see what the standard is and what people do. Now, on that note, I finished off the Unicorn Factory with like kind of tips and tricks from our existing freelancers for up-and-coming freelancers. And so I was wondering if you had any tips or insights that you'd like to pass on.
Yeah, so I think I guess the tips that I think the obvious ones are always, like to develop time management and to really be able to understand what you're able to deliver and stuff. So I think those are kind of self-explanatory. What I would probably say, and it probably affects your career in general, right? I think learn how to be disciplined. That's something that I'm trying to do in my career right now. I'm trying to be disciplined with how I approach things and the way that I work. Invest in yourself, continue to learn new things, and try to grow your skills that you're not good at. You're only not good at something because you haven't done it. So if you constantly try to develop those skills, then, one day you'll get there. I think that, at this stage, for me, it's learning a lot of the soft skills. So I think developing soft skills, being able to manage clients and be able to talk to clients is a really handy tool. So, I'm not a very confident public speaker. So try to speak more. that's the only way I'm going to get better, right? So I think put yourself in positions that you're not comfortable with, and that's really where you're going to grow and see that growth. So I think, yeah, in terms of freelancing and working full time, just know your expectations, continue to push yourself and really develop the skills that you want to develop.
Nick, that was fantastic. I really appreciate that you took the time on a Saturday morning, 9 a.m. because I'm in Canada now, Friday 5 p.m. to like have a chat. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching this episode. Now that I am kind of settling down in Canada, I'll try and do these a bit more frequently. I had a bit of a spell of not doing them, but we should be back. But yeah, other than that, thanks very much for watching the whole thing, and see you in the next episode. Bye.